Hello, Mr. Lowry.
Well, good afternoon.
Oh, that's a good way to start it. Oh, I heard your phone ding already.
Yeah, we hadn't even hit the button, maybe a couple of seconds, and it's already going off.
Already dinging away. So let's see if. Oh, I got a notification from YouTube, or at least live on YouTube, so that's good. Hey,
Well, and I had a big X just pop up on my iPhone sitting here beside me. So that means Twitter is rolling on, rocking on too.
wow. Oh, I got the notification in Facebook. Hooray. And of course, I just, this software that we use to do the show, we've been using it pretty much actually the entire time now, but they just released some new updates, so I've got lots of new toys to play around with. So no telling how the show will go. Hey, have you been watching arguably one of the greatest news events of our time?
Which one?
We're
There's
not
so many.
alone. No, this is
There's
like maybe Close Encounters of the Third Time is actually real. Or
oh, come
ET
on.
or pick your.
Oh,
No, I'm serious.
okay. So you're saying that there's aliens, is what you're saying?
I didn't say it.
ET.
I'm saying that if you watch the congressional hearings, whether you pick your news station, CBS, NBC, pick your news station that's broadcasting this, or News Nation, it doesn't matter, pick them. You need to listen to what some of these guys are saying and on the congressional record.
Well, I ain't had much time to follow that. I will say this: I did follow over the weekend. I saw that our Congressman Mike Walk on Water Johnson, he chimed in with Matt Gates, calling for all of the congressmen to return to D.C. to handle up on the Department of Justice. Is that the aliens that you're talking about?
Well, no, I'm not talking about those illegal aliens down there in Texas that Abbott's trying to drown down there. I'm not talking about those aliens.
Right. So you're talking about extraterrestrials.
I'm talking about, I mean, it's like not getting enough traction. And I'm not saying that that they're showing the bodies of aliens on there, but these guys are claiming they're Navy pilots and Air Force pilots. They're not just Yahoo tinfoil hat people. I mean, a lot of this that we've thought about uh, as
No,
disinformation campaigns in the past, I'm telling you, the Area 51 crap might, I'm just saying might, there might be something to that.
okay, well, I didn't come on here for us to go Area 51 and ET. I can't go there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I don't know.
Well, I'm not saying, we have to determine that here. I mean, we've got plenty enough going on with our own city council and King David's up to his shenanigans again and, all of that. And we'll talk about all of that. But I'm just saying that there might be something to all this. That's all I'm saying.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, hey, what's on tap tonight? What all are we going to talk about besides aliens?
Well, we got a lot of stuff. So, as everybody can see, and we've got about 30 something people watching. So, hopefully, that number will keep growing. Hello, Val Baker. Y'all make sure and share and tag and let everybody know that we're online. But we're going to talk about term limits, of course, because not only did we have a possible PR stunt from the mayor, um, but they did talk about it today at the city council meeting. So, we're going to go through all of that video. Then we're going to talk about the letter that doesn't exist, except it really does exist when they actually find it and send it to us. How much do elections cost? And what's the city council going to cost the taxpayers? And then people getting triggered over releasing information about term limits. Good old boys getting triggered.
Lots of triggering going on because that council meeting looked like there was some triggering happening at that council meeting.
I know. Wasn't that, was that John Wayne's horse that was named Trigger? John Wayne may as well have rode up in there.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you. Well, I say we go to our break and then we come back and let's dive right into all the nitty gritty of Bossier politics.
Let's do it, folks. Y'all know what to do. We're going to go to our couple of 3-minute break. Y'all go ahead and like and share. Go make you a stiff drink, pop you some popcorn, and get ready because King David is on tap in the city council meeting. We'll be right back.
If folks knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. You know, there's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
And I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
They're making a little bit of progress, but I would definitely have to give the race to Caddo Parish right now.
I don't know. Is there anybody from Plain Dealing watching, you think?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Did you or did you not requisition some money to fight against this or for it?
We hired a lobbyist and it cost us $15,000. We were opposed to HB 630.
So for this week, folks, the cockroach of the week, according to Bossier Watch and Duke Lowry and Rex Moncrief, is
Raymond Cruz legislative assistant, Allie Feaster Smith. Thank you, Allie. Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. No way. It was not David. You know it wasn't David Montgomery. David ain't going to jump off in there with Chris. He ain't going to do it. He'd as soon spit on him as he would even look at him. Man, this is a Mickey D's Krispy Kreme week. Didn't you know? Who's paying y'all? And if you're driving on the roads, are you safe?
It's on the road, yeah.
Well, I know you're on the road, but I mean, is this all folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico and buses.
doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. Yeah, that's only going to cause more division that he claims he doesn't want to cause. And it's only going to cause more suspicion. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Coleman Project, the Walker Place deal, through conscious, shocking action. The purpose of their actions was to stop plaintiffs, being the Ewell, Coleman, and associated groups not, from developing Walker Place. But here's the key thing, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
You hit the button. Does that mean that people are seeing us sitting here talking and chatting?
In theory, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go.
But
right. Well,
it just is not coming up.
It is not being tech friendly for you tonight, is it, Mr. Lowry?
No, sirree, Bob, it is not. So, how are you and how is everybody else doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. And we are slowly but surely growing. We're up to about 50 people watching now across all the platforms. So that's always a good sign. We're glad to have everybody sitting here watching and commenting.
Yeah, so Teresa Cassiola, you already mentioned Val Baker. Barry Butler, I see, is in there. Cliff Smith. Cliff Smith pointed out that we egregiously was calling Trigger or a Kenning trigger to John Wayne, and he
Uh,
pointed out Roy Rogers.
yeah, thank you for the correction on that. I was trying to think in a hurry, but, got it wrong. So thank you for the correction.
And last show I did say something and I made a mistake, and something that I said was incorrect, and I meant to correct it, but I can't quite remember it right now. Maybe
You
by the
can't,
end of the show. Yep. Can't remember.
can't
I'm
remember.
I'm gonna keep living the lie until I can remember.
CRS, can't remember bleep. Anyway. Okay, well, let's get into it. So, we got lots of stuff to talk about. I mean, I don't know. Again, it's like where to start, and what do we talk about first? Do we talk about you want to talk about the missing letter that was really not missing?
Well, it depends on which letter that's missing. Are you talking about like when we send a request to City Hall to Jacobs and he's got nothing responsive? I mean, what kind of letter are we talking about here?
Well, I think we mentioned it during the last show that we had sent a public information request over to the police jury for the letter of support from the Cypress District for Robert Berry. And,
yeah.
not that that's a big deal. I mean, Robert Berry is not the appointee for the police jury. If everybody remembers from the last show, it's Rodney Madden. But still, we wanted the letter to see what it said. And we got a prompt response back from Rachel Hauser, who's the secretary for the police jury. And Rachel's a really nice person. But she said, and I'm sure she was going off the information she was provided, but she said that the letter didn't exist. And we showed that response last week. Well, as it turns out, the letter does exist. So let me go through here. Let's see. Hold on. All right. So first, just to refresh everybody's memory, this is the letter from the police jury, and you can see it's, the text is a little small down there, but it says, highlighted in yellow, please be advised that the parish has no documents responsive to your request. And we had requested copies of all letters, email letters, correspondence associated with the letter of support for Robert Berry, as discussed during the Cypress District meeting on June 29th and the Bossier Parish Police Jury meeting July the 19th, and a copy of the actual letter. Again, they said, or Rachel did, and again, I'm sure she was going off information from Rimmer, that, the documents don't exist. Well, I know for a fact, and I think everybody else watching that happened to watch that police jury meeting and our coverage of the police jury meeting, I knew good and darn well that they all said that they had a copy of that letter.
They literally was saying it.
Yeah, literally. So I literally pointed it out. So I sent a reply back and sent it to Doug, to Rachel, to the paralegal, and whoever Megan is. And I said, we're a little confused about the response. Maybe there was some confusion about our request, so let me clarify. At the meeting of the police jury on July the 19th, there was an exchange of dialogue between Doug Rimmer, Lee Ayers, as well as Gary Weish, Benton's appointee to the Cypress District. And I pretty much spelled it out. Lee Ayers, he says, I think y'all have all seen the letter. If you don't, I have copies. All 4 other members of the Board of Commissioners unanimously voted and signed a letter to each of y'all saying, please reappoint Berry. Doug Rimmer responded, y'all have all seen that letter, haven't you? Everybody here, we all have a copy. Lee Ayers, so y'all have seen that. And then later on, Gary Weiss said, just wanted to reiterate our letter that we sent to y'all recommending that Mr. Berry be reappointed. Now, that's still on their Facebook page in the video.
So what letter did she think you was talking about?
Well, I don't know, but literally within an hour of sending that email, Patrick Jackson responded to Rachel and said, Rachel, I obtained this letter directly from one of the jurors yesterday. It was emailed to each juror privately to their private email. That's kind of redundant. It did not go to the parish, it appears. At the meeting, the jurors appear to be talking about this letter that was not mailed nor put into our record. Here it is and can be sent directly to the organizations requesting it. Update your response, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
So
I'm wondering why it was not put into the record.
I really don't know. I think they didn't want to send it, and then they did. But anyway, here's the letter. And I mean, there's not anything earth-shattering in here. It's just the Board of Commissioners. You can see at the bottom. Strongly, let me try our new little highlighting trick. Strongly recommending, reappointing Mr. Barry, blah, blah, blah. And, that's no big secret that they did that. And then page 2 shows, Kelly Long, Walt Bigby, Jerry Fowler, and Gary Weiss signed it. And speaking of Walt Bigby, we've got some more information to share about Walt Bigby later on in the show. So the point of that is, again, Robert Barry's not being appointed by the police jury now, but it's just the fact that, we don't have the documents. And again, I'm not slamming Rachel. I actually know Rachel personally. She's a great person, a great gal. I think she was being fed information from Rimmer, whoever, but it's the fact that, they don't have the letter till they do have the letter.
I mean, good grief. I mean, we're down to having to fight about something that they acknowledge in an open meeting or whether they have or they don't have. I mean, is that how transparent things are now?
Pretty much. I mean, just super not so transparent.
Well, all the folks watching, I mean, you should take note. I mean, that's the transparency of some of your local government. That's what you're dealing with.
Well, there's kind of a rule that I try to follow, and, don't ask the question if you don't already know the answer to it. So I knew when I asked for the letter that the letter existed.
Right. And we do that a lot. We know the answer, but then there's sometimes when you don't know the answer, but you know the answer by the answer that you get of the yes or the no or the delay.
And Val Baker says private email. So I want to address that comment too. So even if documents are sent, or text messages for that matter, to a public official and it's concerning public information, then they have to produce those records. So if somebody had texted that, if the Cypress District, if Kelly Long had texted that letter to Doug Rimmer, let's say hypothetically speaking, Rimmer would still have to produce that record even though it was sent to his private, iMessage or whatever he uses for his phone.
Yeah, but look, okay. What if Patrick Jackson, took the Charles Jacobs approach and he says,
Attorney-client?
well, no, we think there may be litigation, so we can't release that information. In fact, y'all can't even talk about it.
Well, as we all know, that's a bunch of bull.
I know it, but I raise that, Rex, to say to everybody watching that this has become the practice of government. We see it in our federal government and we see it in every branch of our local governments. And you've heard the term lawfare, and that is what is happening. We are having elected officials that get up there, and then they're having a city attorney or parish attorney or the attorney of record is basically running government through lawfare. They're telling these guys and telling these people, oh, you can't do that, you can't say this, you're gagged because potentially you could be sued or whatever. But our elected officials, they're not, in my opinion, they're just laying down for these lawyers, and I'm not.
They're hiding behind it.
Well, they're either hiding behind it or they're just laying down, taking the easy route, not doing their due diligence, and Yeah, I'm not saying they're not always doing their due diligence. I did say that, but I'm just saying they're allowing the lawyers to dictate, what legislation and government how government is run, and that's not the idea. I mean, they need to, if they're not going to use their brain and, form their own opinion, and they're simply going to allow government by one appointed lawyer. I mean, why do they even run for office?
Well, that's a good question. And you're making the case right there, easily making the case for term limits. And we can get way off on that tangent. We probably don't want to go way off in the weeds on the term limits deal, but it's literally one of the reasons for term limits. If they're going to get stagnated, the incumbents are, then they need to be refreshed every so many years and new blood come in there, new ideas and all that, new ways of thinking, because they hit, you know, the entrenched incumbent scenario where they're just going to hide behind the lawyers, or they're going to take the easy route. We saw it again today, and we're going to see here in a few minutes at the city council. So it's just another reason in my mind for having term limits and forcing the term limits. But anyway, we'll talk about some more of that in a few minutes. And speaking of term limits, so I've got our item here, term limits PR stunt. So I'm going to switch screens again, and let's take a look at this letter that came from the mayor's office. And I want to get your opinion on this. And of course, we want the opinion of everybody watching. I'll go through this letter and see what y'all think. So let me publish this and click this button, and there we go. Okay. So what I've got on the screen is a letter from the mayor's office, and it was sent out July 28th. So that was Friday. He says, today I submitted an ordinance for term limits to the clerk of the city council. I've always supported term limits and believe they help foster good government. But this is not about me. This is about the 2,977 citizens, at least he did acknowledge that, who signed their names to a petition. The citizens have taken the path outlined in the city's charter to create a change they, along with many others, believe in. I want them to know that I hear their voices and they matter to me. I want to see their desire for term limits on the ballot in November so citizens can vote on this important issue. There has never been a successful petition to call for a charter amendment in Bossier City's history. This unprecedented event has created some legal questions that must be answered. And I've got some points on my own about that here in a minute. The city attorney has been proactive in taking steps to seek guidance from outside expert counsel to ensure this process progresses as smoothly as possible. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. However, as mayor, I have an obligation to the citizens to take any and all steps to move this forward, even while legal questions are being researched. I am committed to the citizens of Bossier City, and I will do everything I can to make sure term limits are on the ballot November the 18th of 2023. What's your take on that, Mr. Lauer?
Well, my take is I want to pose a question to you and everybody else watching the show. Who do all of you think, obviously Tommy didn't write the letter, but who do y'all think formed that letter? Which attorney?
Well, that's a good question.
Do you think Charles Jacobs did this?
Do you think Katie Bell did it?
Katie Bell didn't do it. And
that's right. She's had no associate. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. I'm trying to get ahead of us now.
And I'm pretty dadgum confident that Charles Jacobs didn't do it either. So I'm wondering, do you guys think that the assistant city attorney, Richard Ray, that he did this?
I don't know. Maybe Amanda wrote it and they just got the Richard Ray to sign off on it.
Well, I'm fixing to put now before I put everybody in a quagmire here and fill you in with a little bit of information. I mean, what do you think, Rex? You think the mayor's trying to have his cake and eat it too? I mean, he knew the deadline and he turned this in quote unquote late, but But in his defense, let me say this, and so people will understand here. Yeah, the city has this time requirement, but there's also this thing called the state constitution. And according the angle that the mayor's office is playing is that according to the constitution, he can submit an ordinance within 24 hours. So the question becomes which, if he's accurate, I don't know
Right.
100%. I hadn't looked it up, but if he's accurate, what trumps what? Bossier City Charter or the state constitution?
Well, I would have to say the state constitution, but then again, I'm no attorney.
So,
West Marriott. So let me put this up there real quick. The Bossier West says the Bossier City PIO insisted to me today that the late submission of the ordinance was an oversight and not simply a PR stunt. I insisted, being West, that the citizens demand professionalism in all of our local officials. So,
well, what if I told you that it may not have been an oversight, but it also was not intentional by the mayor?
well, I would have to say that I don't think that Tommy's that calculating either, so it could have been an oversight or could have been unintentional. I would
But
think that Amanda is a little
but
sharper than that.
well, maybe it has nothing to do with whether you're sharp or you're not sharp. Maybe it has to do with the attorneys and lawfare. So again, I go back to we all have concluded that the city attorney, wasn't going to have nothing to do with it. I mean, he obviously, the assistant city attorney. I mean, I hadn't heard anybody say what their thoughts were on that. Um, so I'll just jump right in here to it. What would you say if I told you both the city attorney and the assistant city attorney, I'm told, wouldn't write the ordinance for the mayor upon his request and caused him to not be able to get it submitted on time? And that the mayor had to go to another attorney outside to get it drawn up to be able to submit it, and did that. And as a result of the city attorney and assistant city attorney not aiding him, caused him to be late in getting it submitted.
I would say that sounds plausible.
Now,
Absolutely sounds plausible.
a source is telling me that that is exactly the case that of what took place or transpired. Now, I don't know if that's right or not. But and I'm like, well, why would they have done that? And supposedly their position is that, they're the attorneys for the city council, not the mayor.
Well,
So
hmm, hmm.
I'm wondering if you or anybody else out there, if y'all are running this city and you appoint the attorneys, I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking I might would fire them.
Well, and that presents another quandary. So, I mean, what is the power of the mayor to be able to fire him?
I don't know. I don't know if he could fire them. I really don't know. But if it's accurate that they both refused to write an ordinance for him to submit, and he had to get an outside attorney to do it.
Yeah,
I
if
mean, on his
rumors are
own,
true,
yeah. If that's true, I mean, I don't know. I got to tell you, that's lawfare. That goes into the point I was making, that you basically have lawyers that are controlling and dictating and directing how government is, transpired in the city. And it's not your elected officials, it's a couple of lawyers. And that's not any form of government that, we fought to have in this country. It's something entirely different.
well, Matthew Smith brings up a good point. Says, why do we have two city attorneys but need a third party attorney to look at everything? Well, this is why, because apparently the two city attorneys, if rumors are correct, don't like to do what they're told.
Oh, I love that, David Bond. Can we get 2,977 voters to sign a petition to fire Jacobs and Ray?
Probably so.
Well, it's awfully hot right now, and I bet you that only a few people would show up, maybe a day or two, and after a day or two of the torture, they wouldn't be back. It's a lot of work, a lot
Right.
of work.
Robert H. Wright says Tommy told me that they work for him, and Tommy also told us that he was standing behind Shane Cheatham, but we all see how that worked out, so who knows. I mean, I support Tommy from the standpoint of he is at least making a half-hearted attempt to support term limits, maybe even a little more than half-hearted. So I support him for that, and I'll cut him some slack for that. But anyway, let's
Well,
see here.
go ahead. If you've got city attorneys that are not, you know, helping him to bring legislation that he lawfully can bring, and for whatever reason they're objecting to it, I mean, that he's got a problem, and maybe he needs to call for their resignation.
And I agree, Holly Cole. This whole thing is quite ridiculous. I think we all agree on that. But, I want to throw something else out here, too, because apparently posting Bossier Term Limits, the Facebook page, we've been posting a lot of documents that we have come up with, which give, and I won't go through all of them because there's quite a few of them. I'll just put one up here real quick. But with some information that folks can read, easy to read information with some talking points. And of course, the font's kind of small. I'm not going to read this whole thing. But for instance, here's one of the posts that says why we need forced term limits. And the bullet points are preventing entrenched incumbency, promoting fresh perspectives, addressing electoral inertia, mitigating potential abuse of power, ensuring leadership succession planning. And, that goes to the whole argument that's always made. Oh, well, you have these newbies that come in there and they don't know what to do and blah, blah, blah. And that's going to be bad for, the city council or whatever government. But then the argument is, well, if our elected leaders are not qualified enough to make sure that if something happens to them, somebody can pick up the pace where they left off, they're not qualified for the position anyway. But anyway, so I digress. So I posted quite a few of these documents on the Bossier Term Limits page. I'd encourage everybody to go look at them, and then we've been resharing it on Bossier Watch, and that has triggered quite the comments. As a matter of fact, we've had comments on the Bossier Watch page. I share that in the Friends of South Bossier. There has been a, let's just say, robust discussion. I thought Lynn Lawrence and Shane Cheatham were going to set up a boxing match or a cage match, somewhere down there in Sobo.
Yeah, I saw one post from Mark Smith. In fact, he was talking about why 3 terms, why not 2, why not 7? How about only 1 term that's 7 years? And why do you get to decide how long it is too long or whatever? And then how about free market capitalistic approach and the best candidate wins or whatever?
Right.
Yeah, that all sounds great. And you know what, Mark? In regards to that, we just picked what the national average was. That's what we picked. It's the same thing. Firemen and policemen and teachers, they articulate and argue for the Southern average, the average. That's what they articulate for in pay. Why can't we do that? I mean, I guess, are you against that? I mean, or what's wrong with that idea? I mean,
well, and he says, why are we, Mark Smith, if you look at the comment on the left over there, Mark Smith says, why are we forcing anything? Well, you're not forcing anything. You're using the rules and the laws to get what we want. It's not forcing anybody to do anything. They can go out and campaign against term limits if they're against term limits and try to sway the voters when they go to the ballot box. They can do that. It's turnabout's fair play. But, Lynn Lawrence over here is remarkably similar text in that. But Lynn Lawrence is saying, again, who 3 terms? Why not 1 or 2 or 7? Well, why do we have 4-year terms, Lynn? I mean, really?
No,
it's an arbitrary number.
Now wait a minute, Lynn Lawrence. That's the guy. What did he infamously do?
He's the one that borrowed the DA's SUV and then ran it off the bridge, turned it upside down in the creek, got a ride back to his house in the middle of the night. By the time the cops got there, they said he didn't appear to be intoxicated, although they found beer cans literally floating around the SUV or inside the SUV. So they didn't test him. Skylar Marvin himself showed up and met the sheriff's deputies out there. You want to watch the KTBS report on that?
Well, no. That actually wasn't what I was talking about. What I was talking about was he's the guy that argued on the case to have a Democrat who qualified as switched parties and qualified as a Republican like a day before qualifying so that he could run
Yeah.
for a Republican race. And
Yeah.
Lynn Lawrence fought to get that done and actually got it done. I can't imagine how he was able to legally do that, but he did it in Benton and Bossier Parish. That's what I was thinking of. That's that Lynn Lawrence.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I just went off on a tangent about, the SUV, and he was not a, employee of the district attorney's office and shouldn't have had the SUV, but they couldn't explain that, and he got by with just $100 fine for leaving the scene or whatever it was.
Man, I want me a DA car.
Yeah, no.
Do I need to go to work for the DA's office to get one of them cars?
No kidding.
Oh, wait a minute.
So,
he wasn't working for the DA's office, was he?
Yeah, no, he wasn't. Just friends with the DA. It helps to have friends. So let's see. Michael Ferris said, "We are the electorate. We decide." Oh, no, we don't, Michael Ferris. You don't decide. Queen David decides.
Oh, Michael Ferris, you need to go. Who runs Bartertown?
Wes Marriott says, "Swerving Lynn." All right. And your lovely bride says the main reason they don't want term limits is control. Term limits will require them to expend more energy to control the next person. Very interesting viewpoint. So, anyway, again, I encourage everybody to go take a look at what we're sharing out. I know it's a lot of text, but it's really just to help you all out. And we're trying to do this in the spirit of transparency and sharing information and helping empower all the people that watch us and also the people that support term limits.
Well, I go back to, if that's accurate, that's Jacobs and Ray. If they didn't help the mayor to draft this ordinance, and if they didn't help to draft it or decline to help, I mean that's a problem for me. That's a taking a side, and that's a problem. I mean, that government in Bossier is completely broke. And anyway, we'll get into the council meeting, but today I think it was evident where Jacob stands. He stands. He showed it again when he got a prompt from none other than King David. I mean, clearly they are working together. I mean, Tommy Chandler, I mean, you were there, you saw it yourself. I mean, I don't know what more evidence you need to know that your city attorney, the one you have picked, is not working on your behalf at all.
Yeah, at all. As a matter of fact, let's go and we'll start getting into that. So let me switch screens here. There we go. Okay, let me get this queued up. So
and at the I want to go ahead, Rex. I want you to share my screen because I want to show this little clip because maybe I'm wrong, but here's the way I see things shaping up in Bossier. And it's not just Bossier City, but it's Bossier Parish. And a lot of you are going to remember this. Let's see if we got some sound.
All right.
Is this it, priest? The Pope's new army? A few crusty and a handful of ragtags?
I know, Bill. You swore this was a battle between warriors, not a bunch of Miss Nancys. So warriors is what I brought.
The O'Connell Guard, the Plug Ugly, the Shirt Tails. The Chichesters, the 40 Thieves.
Let's get it, boys.
Is this Bossier?
Bene.
It's shaping up that way, isn't it?
On my challenge,
I mean,
by the ancient laws of combat, we are met at this chosen ground to settle for good and all. Who holds sway
Maybe that's
over
how
the
we
5
need to settle
points?
this.
Us natives, born rightwise to this fine land, or the foreign hordes defiling it.
I just want to make sure everybody understands the foreign hordes. That's you, all the citizens of Bossier, y'all, the public.
That's well. Look, I've been saying all along, based on a conversation with somebody who I can't really name, it is a North versus South thing, and y'all think I'm crazy. I'm not. I'm telling you what it is. You can't have the peasants from the South, coming up with this petition to take the lords from the North, the benevolent overlords from the North, out of the equation. You just can't do that.
Well, wait a minute. I live in the North, and
But you're up there in Benton.
Well, yeah, but I mean, look.
That's the North, but the countryside of the North. That's like the difference in New York City and then the rest of New York.
Well, here's the problem with that video. For me, that's a personal problem. I was born in Bossier City, lived here all my life, right? So, arguably, am I a native? Yeah, I'm a native, but I'm also part of the horde. I'm also part of the horde. But the thing is, I don't see it as north or south, and part of the reason I don't see it as north and south, Rex. I mean, look, being one of the people that walked a lot of the streets, there's just as many signatures that came out of North Bossier as came out of South Bossier.
Good point.
Arguably in Jeff Free's district, I mean, I can tell you there was a ton of signatures that come out of there. A ton. It didn't matter whether it was North versus South on this issue. It was not a North versus South. Overwhelmingly, people want this. And for these elected officials to thumb their nose and reject the will of the public, right or wrong, let's say that everything about this petition was grossly illegal, grossly unconstitutional. It was the most horrible, egregious petition ever done. You know what? These elected officials, they are not kings. They are, I mean, that's other countries. That's other forms of government. The form of government that we have is a republic, a representative republic of the people, governed and led by the people, not, these natives, which are the elected officials, dictating what you will and what you won't do. I'm sorry. I am embarrassed for some of the folks on this council that they're saying that they're representing the people. You're not representing the people. You're representing something else totally entirely, and it's not a republic. It's not even a democracy. It's not.
Well, let me be clear. When I say the North versus the South, it's not like mostly the people of the North versus the people of the South. It is the Northern elected benevolent overlords who aren't so benevolent sometimes as we saw today. It's them versus the people of the South.
Yeah, but and I mean, this will be. I get what you're saying. I mean, look, David Montgomery, he's North guy. He could care less if you live south. I mean, look, I'll say this: if you live south of East Texas, David Montgomery could give a damn less whether you took another breath. He could care less. I mean, I would not say that about Bubba Williams. I would not say that about Jeff Darby. I mean, I think Jeff Free and David Montgomery, those are two of the same people. I don't think there's any difference in them. I probably wouldn't have thought that a few months ago, but after this and seeing Jeff Free in that council meeting the other day, now I'm convinced there's no difference in him. And Vince Maggio, I'm ashamed to see where Vince has ended up on this.
Oh, he's squarely on the side of the good old boys.
Squarely.
All right. So I'm going to cue up our infamous replay screen here. And let's start going through this. So I guess we'll just start with Phyllis, doing the announcement of the 2 potential add-ons to the agenda. So here we go.
2 add-on requests. The first one would be new business number 11. Introduce an ordinance proposing amendments to section 3.01B and section 4.01 of the city charter of the city of Bossier City. First reading. The reason for add-on, Mayor Chandler requests adding this item to the agenda following receipt of ordinance and election timeline. No election timeline was submitted from mayor's office.
Need a motion?
No motion.
So move.
Second.
Now you see who made the motion and who seconded it. That's foreshadowing.
well, I wasn't expecting to hear the Queen jump up there and make the motion or second it.
All right, so we'll jump ahead. This is just a 30 seconds or so, and let's listen to. I don't know whether he's going to run for city council, for mayor, or what Wes is going to run for eventually, but I got to say, after his performance at the last meeting and today, I mean, I want to get up and cheer for him and go vote for him right now for whatever. All right, here we go.
Good afternoon, West Marriott, Sobo Live, 4308 Parkway Drive. Today I stand before you once more, a resolute voice for the people of Bossier City. We find ourselves at a pivotal moment where transparency and the true spirit of democracy are being put to the test. 2 weeks ago, I presented the irrefutable truth that Bossier City Charter guarantees a citizen's right to be heard, to express our views freely. Yet the resolution to seek outside counsel and term limits passed, dividing the council 5-2. Mr. Smith and Mr. Hammonds, you stood firm with the people. But others, Mr. Free, Mr. Williams, Mr. Darby, Mr. Montgomery, and Mr. Maggio, you chose a different path. Coincidentally, those in favor of seeking outside counsel to delay this effort would be ineligible to run again if term limits are implemented. Is this mere coincidence, or does it reveal an attempt to cling to power to silence the will of the people? The city attorney assured us that the chosen attorney would be unbiased and unaffiliated. However, multiple reports indicate a prior relationship between Ms. Katie Bell and Mr. Montgomery. Was this deception or incompetence?
I'll tell you right now,
either
sir.
way, the trust we place in our officials
Mr. Free,
has been
would you
betrayed.
please?
I don't yield my time, sir.
You will yield your time.
Whoa!
You will. Yeah, stop the press. Stop the press.
Wait a minute. Back up. We got to play that again. You
Yeah.
will yield.
Let's go back through that again. That was so good. Yeah.
Master Blaster. Say it louder.
The city attorney assured us that the chosen attorney would be unbiased and unaffiliated. However, multiple reports indicate a prior relationship between Ms. Katie Bell and Mr. Montgomery. Was this deception or incompetence?
I'll tell you right now,
either
sir.
way, the trust we place in our officials
Mr.
has
Free,
been
would you
betrayed.
please?
I don't yield my time, sir.
You will yield your time.
Because King David said so. Listen.
And I would like to make that point, sir, in accordance with Resolution 56 of 2021, Mr. President.
Please get the point.
Now, I got to give him some more credit. I'm jumping on the West bandwagon for a minute. I got to give him some more credit. You handled that masterfully. You didn't let them rattle you, and you were straight and to the point and had reasoning to back up your stuff.
Yeah.
And you will yield.
Hat tip.
All right.
So did they? I guess they shut him down right there, huh?
Well, sorta. Now let's listen.
I'll tell you right now,
either
sir.
way, the trust we place in our officials
Mr.
has
Free,
been
would you
betrayed.
please?
I don't yield my time, sir.
You will yield your time.
It's got to be specific to the item on the agenda.
Yes, and I would like to make that point, sir, in accordance
We'll
with
get to the
Resolution
point, please.
56 of 2021, Mr. President.
Please get the point.
Mr. Free, I
Yes, sir.
request that you allow Mr. Jacobs to respond.
I don't know where these reports have come from.
Now, I'm going to stop right there for a second. That procedure that they just pulled right there is not how it's supposed to work. if they're actually following Robert's Rules of Order, or what is that new set, the new Rules of Order, or whatever the new version is.
Well, they don't really follow Robert's Rules of Order, but I mean,
No, they don't.
They don't. I mean, but the the city attorney outbursting like that. I mean, again, him and Montgomery run the city. I mean, who runs Bartertown? I mean, they run Bartertown. Montgomery is the little midget, and then I guess the big big guy, whatever, Master Blaster or whatever. I guess that's Jacobs. I don't know, because Jacobs had the outburst, in which who is Jacobs to have an outburst and interrupt the council meeting without being called upon by the council president?
Right.
So where was the order there? And then you have a council member chime in, who being Montgomery, backing up that the public or somebody, some other third party, being the city attorney, can disrupt the meeting.
Yeah. All right, here we go. This is important to listen to right here, folks.
I don't know what reports that you speak of. Ms. Bell has previously, on behalf of the city, represented the MPC in previous litigation that the city has been engaged in. She has never represented any member of the city council, let alone Mr. Montgomery, in his personal capacity in any sort of lawsuit whatsoever. That statement right there, sir, is absolutely false.
Now, refresh my memory, Duke. It didn't say Katie Bell, but in that deposition text that we read and showed the documents, as a matter of fact, we've shown them multiple times. It said Miss Bell.
Miss Bell.
I mean, is there another Miss Bell that happens to be a lawyer for the city that was around doing lawyer type stuff for the city? It's possible.
Well,
not plausible.
Here's the thing. The only of the depositions, of all the depositions that we read, the only one that we found any reference to, Miss Bell, was in David Montgomery's deposition.
Right.
Wasn't in any of the other ones. Why is that? Maybe for some unknown reason. I'm wondering, if she was representing the MPC, according to Jacobs, and if he's correct, why was she not in any of the other depositions? Why was the only one that she was in was with David Montgomery? Why is that?
Yeah.
That's
look,
what I want to know.
So I'm going to back us up again to listen to Wes again, because it's important, the wording that Wes uses here. So I want everybody to listen one more time and listen carefully. I think I've got it queued up to around the right spot.
The city attorney assured us that the chosen attorney would be unbiased and unaffiliated. However, multiple reports indicate a prior relationship between Ms. Katie Bell and Mr. Montgomery.
All right, right there. He says a prior relationship between Miss Katie Bell and Mr. Montgomery. Now, he didn't say she was actually representing him. He said a prior relationship. And there is no doubt that in that deposition, Montgomery was there and Katie Bell was there, unless the deposition is false, and it's not.
So it would appear, who is trying to deceive the public? Is it the Queen and, or Master Blaster? Or is it Wes Shepard? I mean, Wes Shepard. I said Wes Shepard. Sorry, Wes Marriott. I didn't mean to insult you. But, I mean, I'm wondering if everybody's watching. Did y'all catch that? Did you follow what Rex just said? Rex, maybe say it again, because I got to tell you, the first time I heard it, it didn't quite click with me, because the first thing I thought Wes, well, he did accuse him.
Yeah, but he said a relationship. He didn't say, again, my point is, and Wes, correct me in the comments, he didn't say she represented him or she was an attorney for him or whatever. He said he had a prior relationship. There is no doubt there was some sort of relationship in that deposition, because her name occurs with David Montgomery in that deposition. Now, whether she was there representing the city itself, whether she was there representing, whoever else was in the room. But there is definitely some history for that. And I want y'all to listen to Jacobs one more time, and y'all let us know what you think, who's lying.
Where these reports have come from, I don't know what reports that you speak of. Ms. Bell has previously, on behalf of the city, represented the MPC in previous litigation that the city has been engaged in. She has never represented any member of the city council, let alone Mr. Montgomery, in his personal capacity in any sort of lawsuit whatsoever. That statement right there, sir, is absolutely false.
Mr. President, may I reclaim my time?
Please.
Way to go,
I'd also
Wes.
like to directly address our mayor, Mr.
So
yeah, before he gets on Tommy's rear end, let's discuss this.
Yeah. So if she was in the deposition of David Montgomery, and why is it that she objected or sustained the objection of another attorney in the depositions regarding questions regarding David Montgomery's business, Montgomery Insurance Agency, and questions according to Jimmy Hall, former city attorney? What relevance did that have? Why would she have objected or, sustained an objection from another attorney? Why would she have spoken up in, in the capacity representing the MPC? What interest does the MPC have in the relationship of Montgomery Agency and the former city attorney, Jimmy Hall? If I remember the depositions correctly, if there's no relationship here, why was she interjecting herself there? So if she was representing the MPC, I got to ask now, was the MPC paying for an attorney for David Montgomery and Jimmy Hall in that questioning?
Well, that's a good point. And look, we're just putting the information out there. It's not like we made up the documents or anything. They just got caught with their pants down and got a little hot under the collar there. But Wes was not through yet. He turned his attention over to Tommy.
But wait a minute. This is an important point. Jacobs did say unaffiliated and unbiased. He said all that.
Yeah.
I mean, did him nor David Montgomery, when they did this thing, did they say to the public, "Oh, we have a past history. We know this attorney. She's a good attorney. She knows her stuff." Did they speak up and say anything to that? All they said was unaffiliated, not attached, no connection, nothing whatsoever. That's all they said. They didn't
Right.
acknowledge any past relationship whatsoever.
Right. Well, somebody's got some splaining to do, to quote Ricky Ricardo.
I don't think Master Blaster did himself any justice today.
I don't think he did. So we're getting tons of comments, and so we see them. Y'all let us know what you think in the comments. All right. So now Wes is going to turn his attention and his remaining minute or so that he has.
Chandler, no one supported your candidacy for mayor more proudly than the people of South Bossier. However, you did submit this term limit ordinance too late to make the agenda, and as citizens, we demand professionalism from our leaders, and this oversight has shaken my confidence in the process and the public support of term limits. Mr. Free and Mr. Maggio, you spoke against term limits, declaring your love for Bossier City, but your words are empty without action. Mr. Maggio, to suggest the mayorship is decided in your store undermines the democratic process and belittles the voice of the voters. Is this truly the Bossier City we all envision? Mr. Darby, on June 15th of last year, you proclaimed to be pro-citizen participation in government, yet your vote for the resolution contradicted those very words. The people are watching, Mr. Darby, and we will not forget. Today, I urge you, esteemed council members, to redeem yourselves and the commitment to the people. Vote unanimously to place the mayor's term limits ordinance on the agenda, embrace the inevitable future, and become a resource for future leadership of this city, ensuring that your legacy remains untarnished. Do not become an obstacle crushed in the waves of progress. The power lies in your hands, and the history will remember your choice. Will you stifle the voices of the people or let democracy flourish? Stand united with the citizens and let the mayor's term limits proposal take its rightful place on the agenda. Vote unanimously to put this ordinance on the agenda today. Thank you.
Drop the mic. Scorched earth policy. I like that. Just walk in there and lay waste to all of them. Well, except for Chris and Brian.
You know, I'm sitting here and I heard that and he's right. How, I mean, I don't understand how some of these guys are going to just carry the water. I mean, let's just break this down. They're going to carry the water for the queen and not do the bidding of the people when they have said all along their whole reason and justification for service is on behalf of the people, and a 20 to 30 year legacy of service, they're going to piss it all away for the sake of one guy.
Yeah. Well,
You're really going to
look,
do that?
Look, we'll talk here in a few minutes before we end the show in a little while. We'll talk about, you know, what's expected and what's not. Look, it's not like, let me change subjects and bear with me for just a second. When we started, or when I got involved with the Cypress District issues was back in 2019. And the first meeting I had with the Friends of Cypress Black Bayou with Heath Harvey and the rest of them and all that, I told them, I said, look, it's taken them 10 years to screw all, well, I didn't say that, but I'll be nice and say to screw all this up, you can't fix it overnight. This is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. If you think you're going to pry Robert Berry out of there and all that money and influence and power easily, you're crazy. And you're going to have to say the things that not many people want to say to faces and do all those sorts of things. Well, it took the collective efforts of lots of people, both you and I included in that, and basically 4 years later, we were able to get this police jury to come to their senses. If you think, I'm not saying you, Duke, but if we think that these guys are going to give up their power they've had for 20-something years and give it up easily and give up that power and influence, you're crazy. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen that easy, and that's not the plan. All right. So with that said.
Good point. Good point. You're right.
All right. So let's continue on because I think the good colonel comes up and gives his speech too. Here we go.
David Crockett, 653 Dumaine Drive, Bossier City, Louisiana. So here we are, 2 weeks later, no opinion. We know we can get an opinion. This is a very simple resolution that's required to go before the state. And I think the charter is very clear about what the will of the people can accomplish. But on August 8th, that's the 30-day point. The charter is very clear, but I'm going to read it. It just takes a couple of minutes for the people of Bossier City to know. There are two methods to introduce a change to the charter according to the charter itself. One is by the city, and the confusion for the city is that it calls for a charter commission for the city council to make a change. But in the ordinances, or not the ordinances, but in the charter, it says very specifically for us to do a petition to follow Section 5, which we did. The whole petition was written according to Louisiana law and the city's charter. So in order to fight this or delay it, you're putting the will of the people behind your personal interests, and that's the view of the people. But it's very clear in the charter, the part of the charter that talks about if you do a petition selection by the people, that a petition of the electors of the city, as outlined in Section 501, signed, examined, and amended or certified by the registrar, is the way to initiate a change to the city charter. And then it says, if any amendment is proposed by petition of the electors, the city council shall. There is no option.
Good point
The city
there.
council shall submit the same to the electors of the city at a special election to be called no less than 90 nor more than 120 days.
I want to pause him right there for a second because he made a great point in the wording. Words matter, especially in legal documents, and he's correct to point out the word shall. Now, the problem is, for all us common folks out here and peasants, that, well, what if the city just decides not to do it? Who's going to sue them?
The horde. The horde. We're all the horde. The citizens of Bossier, you are all the horde. They are the natives.
Yeah. So
we got to get the terminology. We got to get the terminology right here.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So keep that in mind. All right, here we go.
Next election is in November. The city knows very clearly when the timeline for the state to put a resolution in front of the state to get term limits on the ballot. Any time delay or any reason for, you can't argue ex post facto laws. You can't argue that we're term limiting people that are already in office because those only apply to criminal code. There is no real objection to term limits that you can make except that you're trying to force us to some process that is poorly written in the charter. But it's very, very clear in the charter. It says the city council shall put this in front of the people. We want the people to decide. I appreciate your comments. I read the issues and when Katie Bell represented the city previously, but it appeared to the public that when that case and that lawsuit was filed, that was a loss to the city. I don't know that that's the right person to pick in this case, and I don't know where that name came from, but I think that's the point that was made by the gentleman earlier, and I think it's a valid point. It wasn't an unbiased person. It's never been involved. We should have used a local attorney, and this needs to be decided quickly. That's the bottom line. So thank you very much for your time. Mr. President, I appreciate it.
Good job, Colonel Crockett.
He hit on where did the name come from? And why was it not disclosed when this initial path was put forward? I mean, why was it not disclosed that she had a prior relationship? And we may be wrong, but the only time we saw any reference to her was in David Montgomery's deposition, and the only objection that we saw was questioning regarding, his insurance company and the former city attorney.
Well,
and
I mean, the
their
question,
role in that lawsuit.
what did he do? Open up a set of yellow pages and go to attorneys and close his eyes and wiggle his finger around and just stop on a lawyer?
I mean, you can. I mean, the stuff in the deposition that's out there. I mean, you can see it clearly. I mean, we're not making this up. We showed it.
No, we're not making it up. As a matter of fact, those documents aren't even sealed. You can go to the courthouse and get them. It's not like this is super top secret stuff. It's really not. I mean, that's another big lie, is everybody has said this is a sealed deal and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not a sealed deal. The colonel's already looked at most of the documents. He went over to the Caddo courthouse or wherever they're stored. I think it's at the Caddo courthouse. So it's not like this is a super top secret deal. It never was.
Well, so we got the colonel done, and what happened next?
All right, so Councilman Chris Smith had a little bit to say, and let's hear him.
I'm just going to urge us to at least add this to the agenda. I know that there's differing opinions between the 7 of us, but one thing that I think it's incumbent upon us in our oath of office that we took is that we would faithfully and impartially discharge the duties incumbent upon us. And I can't recall, since I've been sitting in this seat, an issue that has come before the council so strongly from our citizens that it's been so clear what is incumbent. We don't have to pass it. If you don't like it, you can vote it down, that's your vote, but at least let the people who showed up here today, who took time off of work, who had people watch their children, who made arrangements to be here, let them have an opportunity to speak their mind. Let the council have the opportunity to have the debate. We're owed that, at least, to have the debate. And if you don't like it, you can vote it down. Because quite frankly, we can't escape this vote. It'll be on the agenda automatically in 2 weeks, and we're going to vote on it. We've seen the timeline to know that if action's not taken today, a November 18th ballot is impossible. So let's at least...
I want to pause it right there for a second. I want to make clear to everybody, they're not voting on whether to have, a vote on term limits themselves. All of this discussion and this vote is whether to put Tommy's late agenda item on the agenda for today officially, which requires a unanimous vote. Did I say that correctly enough, Duke?
Yeah, you did. And I'm
Okay.
glad that you made that clear. And I just wanted to make one more thing clear. Chris, who runs Bartertown?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, you got it. All right, here we go.
Have the debate. That's it.
Any additional comments from the council?
Mr. Jacobs, would you please give the council
Here we
your
go.
opinion? Well, as to how we're proceeding.
Mr.
I
Jacobs,
spoke to
give
Ms.
your
Bell
opinion.
yesterday morning. Her opinion will be back on Friday.
No,
I've
wait a
given,
minute. Whoa,
the
hold up.
Put on the brakes.
Wait a minute. The opinion will be back this week?
He said Friday.
2 weeks? I got to go back and watch the video because I don't think that's what he said at that previous council meeting.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe somebody in the comments does.
It was, he said 3, 4, 6 weeks, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's
now
talking about.
He's saying Friday. Now he didn't. I mean, I guess he's got his out because she said that she should have the opinion back by Friday. So I guess he's got it out in case she's delayed or late or whatever.
Oh, good grief. Okay, roll on.
Remember, words matter. Here we go.
Council, my previous opinion, the council asked for a second opinion, and Mr. Smith, Mr. Hammond, and especially Mayor Chandler. I understand that y'all are in favor of term limits. You want term limits. You want to push this matter forward. But if it's brought improperly, we're not going to have valid term limits. What we will have will be endless litigation.
Stop. Hold the press. What is he? Somebody explain to me in the comments what he means by endless litigation. Exactly who is going to file the lawsuits against the city. I want to know specifically what he means by that.
Well, I got to tell you exactly when he said that, my first thoughts. Who prompted him to speak? I mean, obviously, he knows something that everybody else doesn't know. He knows somebody that intends to litigate, and I think it's probably the person, my guess is, the person sitting to his right who prompted him to speak in the first place.
Well, I don't know. Lynn Lawrence was sure making hay about it in the Sobo Live deal, in the Friends of South Bossier group, so maybe somebody like Lynn Lawrence would file a lawsuit.
Well, I think, the Queen probably has a pretty good attorney or an attorney in mind to work on his behalf, and she's probably down in South Louisiana somewhere going to give an opinion here quite shortly.
Probably. Gee, what makes you think that, Mr. Lowry?
So I'm thinking Lynn may be sucking hind tit on this one. He's not going to be in the running. I think.
Yeah. Well, he can go drive another SUV off the bridge or whatever if he wants to.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Queen has already got his attorney lined out. She's already worked for him before.
Probably so. All right, so here we go.
Ms. Bell has reported to me that her opinion will be transmitted to myself and the city this Friday. My opinion, respectfully, would be to receive Ms. Bell's opinion, digest it over the weekend, and then proceed from there.
Wait a minute.
That's the whole reason that we're
Right.
seeking the outside opinion.
Transmitted.
Hopefully, that we could avoid needless, time-consuming, expensive litigation.
Needless, time-consuming, expensive litigation. Again, I ask, who does he anticipate or who has told him that they're going to be involved in that needless, time-consuming litigation other than, like the moron sitting there in the middle with the dumbfounded look on his face that's going to have to be out of office? And not just him. The other two as well, along with him, that are going to be immediately term limited out. It's not just about Queen David.
Well, since we're talking about morons here, I'm dying to know, does he really believe that Miss Bell's opinion is going to prevent any litigation?
No, of course not.
I mean, good
That's the
grief.
dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's a cop-out all the way around. This is nothing more than a delay tactic, to prevent the inevitable.
Yeah,
That's
this
all
was.
it's about.
Look, folks, so y'all are all aware, this was not unexpected. Again, like we were talking about earlier, we didn't expect them in power to just roll over and give up that power very easily. In theory, that would be great if it happened, and we all want to pretend like they'll play nice in the sand sometimes, but we're giving them all the rope that they need, and that's that. All right, here we go.
I understand the mayor strongly supports term limits, as do Mr. Smith and Mr. Hammonds. But without moving forward properly, I've given the city my opinion. Without moving forward properly, we will not get term limits. We will get litigation.
That's 3 times he's done it. It's a veiled threat is what he's doing. That's the 3rd time he mentioned that.
So, Mark Smith, awesome. Love it. He says, so if Miss Bell's opinion says this approach doesn't work, will Duke file suit? Mark Smith, have you considered that other organizations that have national may be the ones that file suit? I'm guessing you probably would love to have some of these national organizations just pile right in here and file suit and
Right.
take care of what makes you think Duke would have to file suit? What makes you think that some of those national organizations aren't just sitting here waiting for the screw up?
What makes you think that this isn't part of the plan? That's my question.
Wait a minute. I forgot. We weren't going to get this was a joke anyway, right? This was all funny and ha ha. They're not.
Right.
That's hilarious. They're not going to get the signatures. It's so funny.
Oh yeah, never gonna
Thank-
happen. Those
thank-
pesky guys out there walking all those evenings, burning the rubber off the soles of their shoes.
Thanks for the laugh, Mark. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
you'll get an assignment to the sniper tower off of East Texas Street.
Yeah, well, as they go around in circles, it'll be easy pickings. All right, here we go.
Thank you.
Mr. President, real quick, this is an ordinance that requires 2 readings, so if the opinion is going to be here on Friday, there's nothing stopping us at least moving it forward for a final vote in 2 weeks. I think that would be in the best interest of the citizens, that we at least take it up today. And if at least 4 of us approve, we move on in 2 weeks for final approval. And if Ms. Bell's opinion comes back that something needs to change, then we can address that matter. At least we've already hit the first vote. So I would strongly encourage everyone to at least consider the will of the voters. Thank you.
Additional
At
comment?
least he got it on the record.
All right, please cast your vote.
So how do you think, drum roll please, how's the vote going to come out? Well, there it is. Now,
Motion was defeated.
Phyllis,
surprise.
What, is it just me or did Phyllis kind of sound a little let down when she had to read that?
Well, I think
Maybe I'm reading a little too much into that, but
I think Phyllis got put in a box this week on this deal and got put in a pretty bad position. But I want to go back to Mark Smith, and Mark Smith makes a point. Only the petitioner has grounds for suit. I mean, spoken like a true lawyer. Mark, you're right. Absolutely, you're right. And I would find it hard to believe that members of those national organizations don't have members here in Bossier who are
Gosh.
signed petitions and participants and all that. So hey, I agree with you. I think you're right. I do. Not
Yeah.
disagreeing with you.
And there's probably lawyers out there even smarter than the mysterious Mark Smith. David Crockett says, Maggio, Maggio, or where art thou, Maggio? Notice he's a little silent, especially since Wes called his bluff earlier in his speech.
Where was Maggio? I thought Maggio, opposed and supported term limits. I mean,
well,
look,
this
if he
vote
supported
right
term
there,
limits,
that vote right there.
That's 2 votes against term limits. But I guess once they get the opinion back, he can vote the next time, and then he can say he's on board with term limits.
He can try to have his cake and eat it too, but sometimes you get the cake all over and make a mess. All right. Let's see. Wes says
look,
maybe he forgot his PR team made a pro term limits Facebook post 2 weeks ago.
But look, we got to remember that all of these people fighting term limits, they're doing it for all of y'all's best interest. For everybody in Bossier, they're doing it for the sake of y'all.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
they're not doing it for their interest. They're doing it for your interest.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, they're trying to save you money by doing this, aren't they? I mean, hiring outside lawyers. That's saving the taxpayers money. Having to potentially put this on a ballot on its own in the spring, that's saving the taxpayers money, right, Duke? I mean, it's got to save them money. Got to save us money.
Something tells me that this ain't going to save money, and if I had any extra time, I would research that to see exactly just how much money these elected officials are saving all of the taxpayers of Bossier.
Well, funny you should mention that because, I had the time, and I've actually kind of done a little bit of the research. Now, let me see if
you don't say.
you don't say. Funny how that works. So let me see here. Let me switch screens. All right. So this was a post in the Friends of South Bossier page, and I'll kind of explain this in a second. This was a response to Shane Cheatham that I made. It says, interestingly, I found out back in August of 2021 that it costs about $1,688 per precinct to have something on the ballot. That's coming directly from the Louisiana Secretary of State's office. I've got the emails and the phone call to prove it. You can guess what the issue was about. So citywide, assuming 48 precincts, we're talking over $80,000 that the city council is going to cost the taxpayers extra to have term limits on a single issue ballot. Oh, so they're not really saving us money. They're costing us money. I mean, I guess that's a rounding error in the big scheme of things. I mean, they cost us $60 million or whatever it was in the Ewell Coleman debacle. What's 80,000.
That's not even 6 digits. I mean, David Montgomery didn't even get out of bed for 6 digits.
Yeah, no kidding. And just to prove the point, let me see. I think this is the email from the Secretary of State guy back in 2021. And so you can kind of see how I got my calculations. Of course, we were talking about the 2021 ballot issue. But anyway, he said that would be about $15,200 for 9 precincts, which comes out to an average of about, well, actually, I was off a little bit, about $1,800 per precinct. But anyway, so that's, so you know where I got the information from the Secretary of State's office.
So wasting money when all they got to do is put it to a vote. But wait a minute, they're spending taxpayer dollars, for the benefit of all of you taxpayers.
Well, Michael Ferris says 80 grand won't even pay for a statue. Cliff Smith says maybe we can trade it for a statue. What was that statue? $300,000, a monument to Walt? Walt Bigby Sr., let me be clear.
Maybe we can trade a statue for an election. You think they'll take it down there?
No telling. So let's see. What else have we got on the list? Let me put a little check mark beside that. So we've pretty much covered that.
Well, I think there was another issue on the city council meeting that came out of the blue. Now, we sent a public information request in regards to this not long ago, and we had not yet I don't know, I think we were way ahead of the curve because we had not gotten a response, and then all of a sudden today, it would seem,
lo and behold,
lightning was striking everywhere.
Well, I guess so. Let me switch screens again. So we requested all documents or data, blah, 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 pertaining to the Walt Bigby resignation, which, as I think we've already revealed on the show, potential
resignation, because we didn't know.
Rumored resignation, because as we revealed on, I think it was last week or maybe week before, we had heard that he had already resigned. As a matter of fact, coincidentally, the day that we were up there turning in the signatures to Tommy Chandler. Well, Jacobs responded back with 10 days. Well, lo and behold, it came in today. Walt Bigby did resign. So as we can see from this letter, and for those of you listening to the podcast or on your phone, can't see the screen. This is from July 7th. This is Mr. Mayor. Please allow this letter to confirm my resignation from the Cypress Black Bayou Recreation and Water Conservation District Board effective immediately. Thank you, Walter O. Bigby. Well, no big deal, right? I mean, he's been on the board for a while, and we've given him a little bit of heat over some of his actions on the board. Maybe he was, maybe he was ready to step down. I do know, and let me say with sincerity, because it's, public information, no secret, Walt's wife did pass away. And so, maybe the resignation, he felt that he needed to be with his wife. This was actually, I think, before she passed away that he sent this in. So I'm trying to be a little considerate of that. But he did resign. There's no doubt about it.
So that was July the 7th, and when we started calculating the timeline, if he in fact did resign on July 7th, that would mean that by August the 7th, the city would have to have reappointed someone, or else it would default to the Cypress District to reappoint someone, and without a doubt, they would have reappointed Robert Berry.
Well, but wait, there's more, Duke. So that was July the 7th. July the 21st, apparently Walt sends another letter to Tommy. Says, I recently submitted my letter of resignation to you concerning my position as the city's board member on the Cypress Black Bayou District. I have reconsidered my resignation and now desire to revoke the resignation. I wish to continue to serve, but would request a temporary leave of absence for my duties beginning July 7th until November 30th due to a personal family situation and matter with which I am currently dealing. Thanks for your consideration, Walt. I didn't know that you could resign and then revoke the resignation.
Well, I mean, I don't know that there's probably even a set rule policy. Nobody else had been appointed. I mean, if no action had been taken on the matter, I don't know that I see a problem with that.
Maybe Shane should have tried that. Cheatham. He resigned. Did he actually resign, though? I forget the whole how that all went. But anyway, I digress. All right. So, of course, the city, the mayor Tommy sent back a letter to Bigby. Says he's in receipt of it. He says, I have no objection. Get Mrs. Bell.
I love it.
Oh, very interesting. So Tommy says, I have no objection to your request for leave of absence from your duties effective July 7th until November 30th. Thank you for your past service and all that. So Tommy's saying, hey, that's fine, Walt. If you want to, go back on your resignation and need a leave? Sure. Well, I mean, either way, I personally don't have a problem with that. It's just interesting. But wait, there's more.
Okay, so he's not resigned. He's back.
Well, not quite.
What?
So, a few minutes after we got that information, we got this email from Jacobs. Please see Bigby's final resignation. Is that your final answer? Submitted to the mayor's office yesterday, July 31st. Says, Mayor Chandler, on July 7th, I'm submitting my resignation. A few days later, the status was changed to temporary leave of absence due to unavoidable circumstances. I must immediately resign from the board. I appreciate your confidence in me, and if I can help with transmission, I will be happy to do that. So here's what that means, is officially Walt did resign from being the City of Bossier's appointee on the Cypress District Board. Went back and forth, a little bit of ping pong, but he did resign. And like I said, condolences to Walt and the rest of his family on the passing of his wife.
Yep, absolutely. And so that brings us forward to what transpired at the council meeting today.
Yes, it does. So let me swap screens around here real quick. All right, so here we go. Let's hear Phyllis make the announcement.
Number 11, appoint Jerry Wilhite as the city's appointment to the Cypress Black Bayou Recreation and Water Conservation District Board of Commissioners to replace the recently vacated position. Requested add-on due to quorum requirements at the Cypress Black Bayou Commission.
All right, so they're voting, again, like the vote on the term limits issue. They're voting to get it on the agenda for today because it was a last-minute deal, obviously, with Walt resigning yesterday. So they have to have a unanimous vote, correct, Duke?
That'd be correct.
Okay, so just so everybody knows. Now, let's hear the back and forth on this. And she said, did she say Jeff or Jerry Wilhite?
I don't know. Let's listen and see exactly.
Yeah, let me go back again. Let's make sure.
Number 11, appoint Jerry Wilhite as the city's appointment to the Cypress Black Bayou Recreation and Water Conservation District Board of Commissioners to replace the recently vacated position. Requested add-on due to quorum requirements at the Cypress Black Bayou Commission.
All right, so here we go with a little bit of discussion about this.
I would ask, Mr. President, that this be continued, that me personally, I had no idea about this person being appointed by the council until we see, council members may have other recommendations. I don't know who, I'm sure this was approved by all of y'all, but I would like this continued.
Hey, I got a question, though, there. And notice he said, I'm sure this was approved by all of you. How would they approve that except doing a walking quorum? But I digress. Okay, here we go.
At least for 2 weeks, and not put on the agenda today.
There hasn't been a motion, so.
All right.
So it'll die for a lack of a motion.
Is there a motion to add this to agenda?
You need a motion to add it? So moved.
You almost missed your shot there, Queen David. Almost missed it. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second.
And the same thing, it has to be voted on unanimously to add.
All right, is there any public comment on this addition? Any council comments? Mr. Hammonds?
Yeah, I just don't see, I understand that they need another member on there so they have a quorum, but, me personally, that's not our problem. The MPC has a problem getting a quorum. They do. I think that I think this does not need to be voted on today, that we need to have some more discussion on this.
All right. Please cast your vote.
Motion fails. It says carried, but it's actually failed.
And it failed because they got.
Against the vote.
Yeah, they have to be unanimous in the decision on that. And that was pretty much it. Now, I don't know Jerry Wilhite. I know I'm familiar with the Wilhites though, and they have Wilhite Electric, if I'm not mistaken. And so I would just say this: when I was going through the Cypress District disbursements from the $3 million bond issue, I mean, just in the little bit of research I did, Wilhite Electric was paid over $120,000 just out of that $3 million bond issue disbursement, just with the information and receipts that I had. So I don't know.
That you had, or that you went through.
Well, that I went through. I mean, I can publish the documents, but just the ones that I went through. So,
Well,
and I'm sure the Wilhites have done more electric work out there at the park. My point is, not that there's anything wrong with that at all, but it would just seem a little odd to me to appoint somebody to the Cypress District Board when they're also doing six-figure business with the board. I mean, that'd look like be putting Lee Ayers on the board.
Okay, well, Mark Smith made a comment. Mark Smith says Wilhites and Hammonds don't get along. Well, Mark Smith, I want to ask you a question. How does the Queen David and the Wilhites get along?
Mm-hmm.
Let us know about what's their relationship. Tell us.
Yeah.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Michael Ferris has a good comment. Let me put it back up on the screen. It says, how was Mr. Wilhite selected for the ballot without all the city councilmen having discussed him? That's a good question.
I got a better one for all of the horde out there. At what point did any of you electors get an opportunity to submit your name for consideration for the position?
Yeah.
Did you get it? Are you, I mean, you're not a native, obviously. You're not in the clique. You can't even get the opportunity. What does it take for you to get consideration?
Yeah. In my opinion, they at this meeting should have been advertising for the vacancy, because they have, by law, they've got 30 days. And then I think they have 45 days total to notice give notice to the Cypress Board about the vacation of the position. And then they've got 30 days to select another one by law before it kicks over to the Cypress District, and the Cypress District gets to choose. So they've got plenty of time. Why couldn't they have just announced that the position's been, has come available, or the appointment has, and would anybody like to submit? I mean, at least the police jury did that. I hate to say something positive about the police jury, but at least the police jury did that.
The police jury does. I mean, they're pretty good about that. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm thinking about the parish administrator job. Nope. No, they didn't. Nobody got a shot on that one.
My vote's for Ann Price. Send Ann Price to the Cypress District. She'd straighten them up in a heartbeat.
I'm thinking hell will freeze over. Okay, Mark, he's not going to say it. Yeah. So the Montgomery, the David Montgomery relationship with the Wilhites is a pretty damn close one. I mean,
imagine that.
No different than it may as well have continued to been Walt Bigby. Walt Bigby shouldn't even have resigned. But the interesting play here is that now I don't know which. I would think that the Wilhite Electric Wilhite, I think it's Jerry. I would think that he would find running for mayor, beneath him. But I heard rumor that there was a Wilhite considering running for mayor. If it's the same one, maybe this is a political move by Chandler to try to, give an appointment to one of his friends or somebody to maybe keep him from running for mayor against him.
I don't know. Again, it just seems to me like, my opinion is, it will be a conflict for them doing that much business with the Cypress District to be on that board, even if he recused himself any time there were decisions made about electrical work out there. I don't know.
Well, all right. Ann says it was Tim Wilhite. Again, another attorney, more lawfare. Well, that says to me, in which, no, Tommy wasn't making a play in that regard. But the Wilhite thing, that I'm convinced that's a King David move.
Probably so.
Who runs Bartertown?
Yeah, exactly. All right, Mr. Lowry, got anything else to talk about tonight?
Well, I think we have beat this mule to death. The fact of the matter is that the Bossier City Council and the natives intend to not listen to you, the horde, and give you any consideration. And obviously, it appears that no matter what, the king's city attorney wants and desires and begs and is hopeful for this to be in a district court in Benton to get probably a ruling like they had on the Cypress district, to go to the Louisiana Supreme Court and all the way up the food chain. Try to good old boy it and hope that along the way they can win. I don't
It
think
sounds like it. I mean, he literally mentioned it 3 times in his little soliloquy there about the, lawsuit and litigation.
he's almost begging for it. They want it. They
Right.
want that to go there. And I don't think it's going to turn out the way that they want. I think they're going to have some surprises along the way that they're not even and some unintended consequences that they're not even considering or expecting. And I hate it. I'm loving it. I'm laughing. Y'all think I'm going to be the one? It's not going to be me. I mean, I've already done my work. Y'all didn't think it could be done. Me and the colonel and you and several folks, we all went out. We got the signatures. We organized the collective will of the citizens of Bossier to show you what they wanted. You're the ones choosing to ignore the will of the voters. What form of government are you saying you support? You say you support and want, you took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, yet you're taking actions to do the other, something totally different.
Look, at the very least, all that walking in neighborhoods that you and the colonel and a few other folks, I really didn't do that much, just a little bit. At the very least, that has given us plenty of fodder to talk about on the show and has allowed, them to reveal our benevolent overlords to show their cards. Where do they truly stand, including Vince Maggio?
In worst case, no matter what, when the polling, not just anywhere, but the polling in Bossier, right here where we're talking about, shows an 80 to 90% support rate. I mean, I'm wondering, even the most arrogant native in Bossier, how do you think the next election is going to turn out for you?
Yeah.
How do you think?
All you campaign managers and campaign people for the opposition to the ones that are term limited out or will be, you can thank us later, all of us that were involved in this, you can thank us later for giving you all these little daggers to throw during the campaigns.
You're welcome.
We're just doing our job.
Just doing our thing.
Our job as amateur pundits, Bossier watchers, amateur journalists, whatever you want to call us, every week.
And
Tuesday nights.
Yep. We'll be here next week too.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Lowry. Well, if you don't have anything else to talk about, I really don't either. For now, we thank everybody for watching. We were running 80 plus people watching the show. We appreciate every single one of you and appreciate all the comments, whether we agree or disagree, whether you're for or against term limits, whether you're for or against Lynn Lawrence or Mark Smith or anybody, we appreciate it all. And we appreciate you, Wes Marriott, because you were the man today.
Yes. Hat tip to you, brother.
All right.
Good
See
night.
y'all later. See you next week, folks.